How's it going, everybody? I'd like to welcome everybody out on this wonderful Wednesday evening. But at least we got a little bit of a break now before holidays and stuff. That's why I wasn't on here last week. But yeah, I was thinking about stuff to do, and thanks, Jersey. And this song popped up. I was like, oh, that's a cool song. And anyhow, I looked at for when it was released, and it was released in 2002. So it's like, oh my God, the song is 20 years old. So anyhow, what the song is Broken by Seether. So it was a really, really popular song back when it came out, but I just cannot believe that it was 20 years ago that it came out. Using the phaser. No. But yeah, so as usual, there is a link in the description where you can download the tabs for this. I'm going to show you how to play a couple of different ways that you can play it to change it up kind of stylistically, and then also to kind of match your skill level. Oh no, Ben, no, there's no effect on it. But I've noticed that before. I actually watched one of the last ones that I did with acoustic, and I thought that same thing. I'm not sure what that is. It could be to do for the microphone. It's just the microphone that's built into the camera. So that could be the thing. Long story short, I don't have an interface that I can hook up to this machine to be able to use a better microphone and stuff. But baby steps, right? Yeah. So get the link in the description and download the tabs so you can follow along. So like I said, it's not too terribly difficult. I mean, if you're a total beginner, I guess it'd be pretty difficult. But you can play this finger style, or you can play it with hybrid picking, or you could even just do kind of like a strumming rendition of it too. We'll kind of look at all of that. So yeah, and if you like what I'm doing, hit that thumbs up button. It helps for me to keep doing this. All right. So first, we'll look at it with just actually playing it is just full on finger style. How I've been, when I was like practicing it earlier, I was actually doing it with hybrid picking because I'm trying to get better at that technique. And so I figured this would be a good place to try that. All right. So this first chord is, it's kind of weird. It's a B5 over E. But what we're going to do is you're going to put your middle finger on the second fret of the high E string, like as if you were playing a D major chord. And then you're going to put your first finger, instead of having it on the second fret of the G string, you're going to put it on the second fret of the D string. So we start off, we play on the downbeat of 1. We play the D and the high E string simultaneous. So for a lot of this, it's just PIMA on the first 4 strings. So your thumb's playing the D string, and your first finger will be playing the G string, second finger on the B string, and your third finger on the high E string. So that way you can get, this is going to be a whole lesson on finger picking, but you don't want like pull back like this. You kind of want to have it so my thumb is picking down and my third finger's pulling up at the same time. So that way my hand position doesn't change. And then on the and of one, we're going to do a hammer on to the third fret of the high E string with your third finger. So, so you want to let that keep ringing, the D string. And then you follow on the downbeat of 2 with the open B string. So it's already open, but you're going to pick it. And again, that'll be with your middle finger, your second finger. And then we follow that with, on the and of 2, with the D string again. And then we follow that on the downbeat of 3 with the high E string. So that's all, 1 and 2 and 3, and then on the and of 3 we actually rest, and it's just an eighth note rest, but that's buying us just a second of time to transition to the next chord. Okay, so the next chord is this G5 over C. So if you already know, like if you played C add 9 before, or just your regular G major chord, you're just going to move your first and second finger up a string. So your second finger will be on the third fret of the A string. And then when you do C add 9, you would actually put your first finger down on the second fret of the D string, but we're just going to leave it open. We're not going to be playing it. We're just going to be playing the A, the open G string, third fret on the B string, third fret on the high E string. And so we play our first fingers on the G string, second fingers on the B string, third fingers on the high E, and thumb is on the A string. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do that same thing we did here, where we're picking down with our thumb and pulling back with our ring finger. We're doing that same thing, but we're going to do it all at the same time. So we're going to be playing down on the A with your thumb, and then your first, second, and third fingers playing the first 3 strings. So it's going to be a simultaneous, and that's a quarter note on beat 4. So you got it. Whoops. So when you hit that, and then you go to this, like I said, that's that little moment of silence. And then you pluck that. So we do that on 4, but it's tied to the downbeat of 1 of the second measure. So it's technically going to get a beat and a half. Okay, and then starting on the end of 1, we're back to well, we're not back. We're still there. Our first finger's still on the G string, second finger's on the B string, third finger's on the high E. And we're going to play, we're just going to go I, M, A, M, or G, B, E, B. And then, so that's and 2, and 3. And then on the and of 3, we're going to hit just the open D string. And then for beat 4, and the downbeat and the offbeat on 4. So you got and 4 and that's basically like one of the riffs from this is like the main riff. That's like the intro and the verse. Whoops. Oh my gosh. And then that just repeats. So that's your first 2 measures. It shows on there, it says that it repeats 3 times. I think that's in the context of like the verse. I can't remember how many times it does it on the beginning of the song before the vocals come in. It may just be the same thing where you play that 3 times and then move on to the next, to measures 3 and 4. All right, so if you wanted to play it with hybrid picking, it's pretty easy, with the exception of one thing that's it was kind of tricky for me because I had never really used my pinky on my picking hand before. So now what I'm doing is I'm using my guitar pick to play the D string, and then I'm using my second finger to pluck the high E string because I'm just holding the pick with my thumb and my first finger. So now I'm gonna, and actually, it's my bad. It's still your ring finger that's on the high E, because then you're gonna have to use your middle finger to play the B string. So we're going to do that. It's the same timing, obviously. I'll have to say it's the same, but it's just going to be, if you have not done hybrid picking, in my opinion, it's harder to hybrid pick than it is just a finger pick. But that might just be, my biased opinion, because I've been finger picking like for a very, very long time, and hybrid picking is only just recently has been something that I'm like, okay, I want to get good at doing this. Not to be able to play stuff like this. It's actually because I'm really getting into like country style playing again, and with chicken pick and everything. It's all about hybrid picking. So, okay, now when we go to that G5 over C, we have to play the A string, the D string, or excuse me, the A string, the G string, the B string, and the high E. So when you're just playing with your fingers, it's simple, because your first finger's on the G, second finger's on the B, third finger's on the high E, and your thumb's on the A. But when we hybrid pick it, now we're playing the A string with our thumb, so that's also taking our first finger. So now I'm actually going to have to use my pinky to pick that first string with. This has presented quite a challenge for me, because I've never really used it for anything. I've never done any finger picking where I used my pinky. So grabbing that is a little tricky. So an alternative you could do is just not, if you play the A string and then pick up the B string and the high E string and omit the G string, it still sounds good. There's a slight difference without having, because both of those are the note you're playing on the G string is G, and the note you're playing on the high E string is also a G. So you're getting the whole chord, but without that octave lower G, it sounds a little different. But I don't think it's enough to forego playing it this way. All right, so then after that, you could like pick with your fingers, but I just end up using my pick for the remainder of that measure. So. Whoops, I keep doing that. I'm so used to wanting to go into like a desuspended 2. I keep doing that wrong. So that's an alternative way too, is you could actually strum the chord. That sounds good too. I mean, it sounds different than what they're doing. But you could still like make your own rendition of it. If you do that though, you want to mute that D string. You don't want, and even if you do end up hitting the D string, it's not the end of the world. You hear it sounded good, but it just sounds, we want to, if we're already adding in things that are going to make the song different than how it's normally played or how you're used to hearing it, we don't want to throw a ton of stuff like that. It's going to really make it weird. All right, yeah. So that is the main, like the main riff. So you could even play it like that with just strumming the whole thing. Now, by doing that, we end up getting that open G string at the beginning of it, but it doesn't sound bad. It's all still notes that are in the same key, so it still sounds good. So that's like an alternative way that you could do it too. So after it goes through that, those first 2 measures, and it repeats 3 times, or whatever it may be at whatever particular part of the song you're in, then it goes into this little kind of, in a sense, kind of like a turnaround, it's like just a little part build up to send you back to the beginning. So what we've got here is we're working with D suspended 2, and D suspended 4. So real quick, for those of you who may not know what that is, so if you take your regular D chord and you remove your middle finger so that the high E string is now open, that's D suspended 2. Now if you take your regular old D chord again, you take your pinky and you put it down. Man, I've got like cotton mouth so bad. You put it down here on the 3rd fret of the high E string. Now that's D suspended 4. So that's a really common thing that you hear in tons. Just start playing around with it if you haven't done that already, and you'll go, oh my gosh, that sounds like this song. That sounds like that song. There's lots and lots of stuff that uses that. So we start off, and it's kind of like the first measure where we're going to play the D and the high E string together, but this time they just both happen to be open. And we're going to do the hammer on this time to the 2nd fret. So we're going to do D suspended 2, but hammer our middle finger down, so we're back into D. Hello, Glenn. Welcome. So we pick the D and the high E string and then hammer on to the 2nd fret. So 1 and 2 and. So on the downbeat of 2, we just hit the B string with our middle finger and the G string with our 1st finger. Then on the downbeat of 3, we're going to do D suspended 4. So you can take your pinky, put it down, and now we're going to pick that. And like I said, this is on the downbeat of 3. 3 and. So on the and of 3, we're going to do a pull off with our pinky. So it goes back to D. Whoops. So that's 3 and 4. On the downbeat of 4, it's the B string and the D string simultaneous. And then on the and of 4, it's the open high E string again. And then you're going to do a hammer on from the open to the 2nd fret, and that's going to be on the downbeat of 1. So it's once you just play through it, it's a lot easier just to play it and feel it than it is to go through all of what I'm going through right now. But this is just to make sure that you get it. So we do that hammer on and 1. And then on the and of 1, we hit the B and the D string together again. And then the G string, the B string, and now we're going to go to that G5 over C. So you just put your pinky down and take your other finger. You just want to be on the 3rd fret of the B and the high E string again. And then that's 3 and 4 and. E, B, G, D. And then that brings it back to the beginning. So that's like this, like I said, if you wanted to call it like the little turnaround, it's just the very end section of that verse that brings it back up to the top. So now we're repeating again, like going back to the first part of it. So I think that is how it goes, is that it does it 3 times, the first 2 measures, and then it does the other 2 measures 3 and 4, and that's like the intro. And then it goes back and does it all again, and then that's the verse, and then from there it goes into the chorus, which we haven't looked at yet. All right, so that's like half of the song, because the majority of the song is just that riff that we went over, and then the chorus. So for those last 2 measures too, if we wanted to do that with the hybrid picking, So we would just start off with our D suspended 2, 1, and do that hammer on still. So when you're doing that last part of it there, at least the way that when I'm doing it, when I'm hybrid picking, I'm not really, I'm using the pick. I'm kind of favoring the pick over my fingers whenever I can. Not because that's the best way to do it, because that's just where I'm at with hybrid picking right now. Is that I want to get better at it, so I'm just going to use you know any excuse of anything I'm playing to try to be able to throw it in there. All right, so for the chorus part of this, it's just using it's strumming. So this is another kind of an where you kind of have to decide with this how you're going to play that first part of it. So if I'm like, if I'm hybrid picking it when it goes into this chorus that's strumming, I've already got my pick in my hand. Everything's all good. If you were just doing it the way that we were talking about, just strumming the whole thing more or less, when you got to the chorus, same deal. If you're playing it finger style, then you can just play without a pick. Just strum with your thumb, or what I do is I just hold my finger as if I am holding a pick, and then just kind of use the backside of my nail to strum. After a while, though, that starts to get a little sore doing it that way. So playing, doing it with the pick is, the best. But again, it's how you're going to transition out of that. If you're just playing it and you're not singing it, you can just, hold your pick in your mouth or something like that, or just have it sitting somewhere. But if you really work into being able to kind of do the hybrid picking version, then you could have, be able to strum it and everything as well. All right. So for this chorus, it's pretty easy. And for anybody that has just joined, there is a link in the description where you can download the tabs for this. So for this, we've just got just some basic chords. We've got C and E minor, and then D again. Okay, so with this chorus, the way they're doing it, and also I forgot to mention, this is like the acoustic version of this song, and there's more than one. There's the one that's they have that live unplugged performance called like Long Cold Night or something like that. It's really good. Oh, you are welcome, Alfonso Breakfast. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, so it's just got the on the original version, it goes to like a heavy, distorted, power chord part right here. But this is kind of just like the unplugged. But I've seen a couple, like I said, I've seen them play it a couple of different ways. So I'm just going to kind of show you just a couple of different ideas of stuff that you can do with this. If you play it exactly the way that it's written here, it works. But when you're just playing it by yourself, it's a little sterile sounding, in my opinion. So we start off with C, and it's just eighth notes. So just like, down, up, down, up. So we're going to play that for 1 and 2 and 3 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and then for beat 4, it's E minor. And it's a quarter note. And it's tied to the downbeat of 1 on the next measure, kind of like on between the first and second measure. It has that same kind of thing. So what that means is that it's gonna ring out for beat 4 plus the downbeat of 1 on the next measure. So you got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and. So you do 3 more eighth note strums of E minor. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and. Then you go to D, 3 and 4 and then that whole thing just repeats. So. So when you're just playing it by yourself, like I said, I feel like that it's just a little, just kind of stale. So if you know, when it's just you and your acoustic guitar, you're the head cook and bottle washer. So you kind of got to cover all the bases. So if you kind of, and I'm not going to try to like count this out per se, but if you just kind of feel it. Whoops, totally forgot to go to the other chord. So after that repeats, it says 7 times. And I'm just guessing that that's correct. It was like a long time ago when I made this transcription. But anyway, after it repeats 7 times, then we go to C for the same thing, the 1 and 2 and 3 and E minor on 4, but this time it's tied to a whole note, so it takes up beat 4 plus 4 more beats. And then, you guessed it, just it goes right back into that same part. The song is called Broken, and the band is called Seether. But yeah, it's a pretty cool song, not too terribly tough, and it's kind of one of them timeless ones because, like I said, I did not realize that this song came out 20 years ago. It does not feel like it came out that long ago. But there's lots of music that lately, you know, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how old that is. So just to kind of give you an example, this is how old I am. I was working at this shop. I used to be an auto mechanic, and I was working in this shop, and in the lobby they had magazine subscriptions, and they had a subscription to Rolling Stone, and this was in 2007, and it had a picture of Guns N' Roses on the front of it, and it says Appetite turns 20, and I'm like, what are they talking about? What do I mean it turns 20? And then I was like, oh my gosh, it came out in 1987. So I was like, holy crap, you know, that was, and now you look at it, that album, I mean, it came out, you know, a long time ago, and it's just bizarre that, you know, some of the music that you still hear it, and it's still just as fresh and good now as it was then. Like, that's how I feel about like Appetite for Destruction. That whole album, it's, you know, in my top of best albums of all time. All right, so does anybody have any questions about any of the stuff from this song, or just guitar related questions in general? It doesn't have to be like about this lesson or anything like that. You are welcome, Jersey. You're struggling with a chorus, you mean? Hey, Cyborg, how's it going, man? Yeah, for we've gone through the song already, but you know, you can always watch the rerun. So, you know, make sure you get your tabs from the link. For anybody that's just joined, there's a link in the description where you can get the tabs. Huh. Yeah, Jersey, you'll have to contact customer service. It must be some kind of a link issue. Oh, you are welcome, Alfonso. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. You know, and anybody out there, you like what I'm doing, you know, hit that thumbs up, you know, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Leave me a comment. All that stuff really, really helps for the channel and for me to keep going, you know, keep going. The channel will keep going whether I'm here or not, but it's not my channel, but it helps them to know that I'm doing a good job and that you like what I'm doing. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody coming out. You know, that's the whole reason, you know, why I do this. If it wasn't, you know, for you guys and ones that, you know, want to be here and, you know, and hopefully you learn something from what I'm doing. Really appreciate that. Yeah. So I think I told you before, we're just going to be just Wednesdays for the next time being anyway. I'm not sure, you know, how long, but just one stream a week for right now. So I will be back again next Wednesday. I don't know what we'll do, but I will figure it out. So yeah, I would like to thank everybody for coming out. Really appreciate it. Hope everybody has a great night and a great rest of your week and stuff. What? Christine McVie? The girl from like American Idol? Oh, thank you, Alfonso. I really appreciate it. Oh yeah, if oh, bummer. Oh, that is a total drag. Totally sorry to hear that. All right. Well, again, thanks everybody for coming out. Really appreciate it. And I will see y'all next week. Have a great week, everybody.